Welcome to chapter number 7, Typographic Design. Now this unit kind of picked off where we left off in chapter number 6, working with this girl in the pattern design. Now you can have your two files. We're going to have it look something like this when we're done. So go ahead and open up your photo start image. Now they've combined a few of the layers from the previous model. The shadow layer is now combined with the young girl. We're going to go ahead and begin. Now with type, it's important to remember that they're actually just vector-based shapes. There's just a way of describing any size that can be increased in any type of resolution. It can be really large or really small without any pixel-based quality loss, like we'd stretch an image. It doesn't pixelate, get too low in quality. Now the true type format is widely used, and the open type format is preferred by professionals. Now there are many other different types of typefaces available. Let's go ahead and get started. You can hit Control-Alt-Shift if you're using a Windows, or Command-Option-Shift if you're using a Mac to restore your default if you want to. That's fine. We're going to go and open up our file, and then we're going to go ahead and name it as Save As 7 Working. And hit OK. The next step is we're going to change from the Essentials mode down to a Graphic and Web. That changes a few of the layouts, the options in front of you, the text options. And we're going to go ahead and take a look at this file using a clipping mask for your type. Now, a clipping mask is an object or a group of objects whose shape masks other artwork so that the areas within the clipping mask are visible. We'll show you what that looks like here in just a second. To help get the type to the exact location, we're going to go ahead and use some guides to help us position the type in the right direction. First, we're going to go to View, and then we're going to go to Fit on Screen to make this fit in the window. This will change based on the resolution size of your screen. Then we'll go to View, and we're going to go show Rulers. My rulers are already on. And it will show you the rulers on the top and on the side of your panel. Now, if for some reason it's not showing it in inches, if you actually go ahead and right-click on your ruler, you can actually go down to inches and to change the setup. Now, if I choose a vertical guide, all I have to do is click on the ruler here, click and drag. I'm still holding, and it will help me to move over in position. I'm going to go to 4.25 inches, which is the exact middle of the document. I can do the same thing from the top if I wanted, and it'll show you the y-axis ratio. And if I don't want a ruler anymore, I can go ahead and click and drag it off the screen and let go, and it will disappear. Now, rulers are a very helpful guide. Now, the important thing to remember is rulers are only on the document for measuring alignment purposes. Now, it's important to realize with rulers, they will actually save on your digital file, whether it's a JPEG or Photoshop file or whatever, but they will not print. They're just for your visible guide alignment, but if you were to print the file, they will not actually show up. So let's go ahead and add some point font text. Go to the Layers panel. We're going to go ahead and select the Pattern Fill Overlay, not the model layer. And then we're going to go over to our text bar, and we're going to choose Horizontal Text. And we're going to choose in the Options bar the following. Minion Pro, which is what we have. We have the regular font size. We're going to change it to make sure it's 115 point fonts if you don't already have that. And we're going to go ahead and change it to the center alignment. In the character panel over here on the top right, we're going to go ahead and change the tracking number to 50. Now we can go ahead and draw over our font the type path. We're going to write type cast, all in capital letters. Then we can either hit the check mark or the cancel or escape, or if we hit enter though, it actually creates a new line because we're editing text. So you want to make sure when you're working with text, if enter will work differently. You can go ahead and hit the accept change in the options bar. Now, if we want to go ahead and try a different font, we can go ahead and just double click in here. It'll select our font, and we can change to a different particular font and hit OK. We can have many things editable, much like we would in like a Word document. Once I have type selected, I can use the Move tool to move it around. Now I can temporarily hold the Control key. That will give me the Move tool, or I can find it up in the top left of the toolbar panel. And I can move my text in any direction. Now we're going to make a clipping mask and apply a shadow. Now by default, the text is black. Now if we want to have this text be the particular texture or shape of another picture, we can do that. Now what we're going to go ahead and we're going to go to File and Place Embedded. We're going to go ahead and find in our file systems here this metal TIFF file. Go ahead and open that up. And it gives you this form here. I'm going to move it where I want. I'm going to go ahead and move it over top of the text. And I'm going to go ahead and accept that change or cancel if I don't like that particular change. Accept the change, enter, or the checkbox. Now notice that the text is below the metal layer. Now with the metal layer selected, I'm going to go ahead and right click and go to Create Clipping Mask. So once I have my metal layer over top of the type text, I'm going to go ahead and right click and go to the middle of my contextual menu to Create Clipping Mask. And now the clipping mask so this metal layer will actually adhere, snap into the text layout. So instead of having black text, it now is the shape of the metal for the outline of the text. That is a clipping mask. Now we're going to add some special effects here. I'm going to go to my Effects button, the bottom of the Layers panel, and I'm going to choose Inner Shadow. It pops up another menu. Now, there are lots of different options in the effects. We're going to change the blend mode here. Now, to do our effects, we still need to do the effects to the typecast text layer, not to the metal. So I select the typecast. I go to the Effects button found in my Layers panel. And I'm going to go to Inner Glow. And I'm going to go to Inner Shadow. That pops up my Layer Styles panel. And I'm going to go ahead and make sure my settings to blend mode are multiply. My opacity is to 48%. My distance is 18 pixels. Go ahead and make sure my preview is on so we can see those changes. As I change the distance, it will change the way that shadow comes. 18 pixels is what the book calls for. 0 choke, and 16 pixels of the size. Now I can change that. That changes the look quite a bit. And then hit OK. I'm going to go ahead and save our work. Control S or Command S on a Mac. Now let's create some type on a path. In Photoshop, you can create type that follows along a path that you draw with a pen or a shape tool or any other type of pattern or path that we create. So in the Layers panel, we're going to select the model layer. We're going to go up to Window, then down to Paths. That pops up our Paths menu. And in the Paths menu, we're going to go ahead and select it. Just double click on it. You can see now there's a line by her mouth. I'm going to go to my text tool, and I'm going to choose horizontal type. Now in the options panel, before I actually click onto this path, I'm going to go ahead and click the right align button. So now the text will align to the right. Now I'm going to go ahead and hover my mouse now with the horizontal text right over the line until I get the little wavy line portion. I'm going to click to the right portion of the path, right there. Now in the options panel, I'm going to go ahead and change the font because obviously it's too large from our previous settings. I'm going to change it to 14 point. I'm going to go to the character panel. I'm going to change the tracking to a -10. And I'm going to change the color white. I can click it from the character panel or right here in the options bar. Appear white, white text. I'm also changing the character panel. I'm going to change it to all caps. So everything I write will be written with capital letters. I'm going to type what's... Oh, for some reason the text didn't actually change. I'm going to go ahead and change it to 14 point. What's new in 3D type? Question mark. Now, as I'm typing, it moves the text over because it's on a right-aligned text. If I had it a middle or a left-aligned, it would create issues because there's no area to the left of my particular cursor where I clicked in. So it is important to know where you click in the line before you do your typing. I'm going to go ahead and accept my changes. Now in the latest panel, we see now I have my own layer, what's new in the 3D type, its own particular text file. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to duplicate that. Now there's a couple different ways. I can right click and I can find duplicate near the top, or I could drag it and I could hover over the new, and that will also make a copy. At this point it doesn't look any different because it's exactly in the same location, so they're over top of each other. Now I'm going to edit, free transform path. See now that the box is selected. And I'm going to change it to a 15-degree rotation up in the options bar. About like that. And hit OK. Now my title is moved. I'm going to use the Move tool to click and drag it up a little bit. I could also use the Control and the arrow keys. Control and the arrow keys will move it up or down. If I hit Control and Shift and arrow keys, it'll move it increments of 10 pixels. Control and one click and the arrow key is a 1 pixel change. I'm going to go ahead and double click the layer in here and type, set a 3D type. We're going to change to say, what's new in web type? I do want to go ahead and select this and make this a thicker font. So I select web type. And I'm going to go ahead and change it to bold. And the book had me do it for the 3D type, but I actually missed that for the 3D type portion. So I'm going to select the 3D type and make that bold as well. Now I'm going to do the same thing with the 3D type. I'm going to go ahead and duplicate that layer, click and drag to the new layer, or right click and duplicate from the contextual menu. I'm going to go ahead and move that down with the free transform. A negative 15 degrees. Angle, I accept that change. Move it down, Control and the arrow keys. About like that. I'm going to go ahead and change the word 3D type to say type effects. Like that. Now we're going to warp point type. Now the text on a curvy path is more interesting than straight lines would be, but you'll want to warp the text to make it maybe a little more playful, a little more organic looking. Now, the book recommends we go ahead and zoom in a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom in so I can see it a little bit closer. Now, in the Layers panel, I'm going to go ahead and right-click on the Type Effects. And in the contextual menu, I'm going to go to Warp Text. It pops up a special menu where I can manipulate and start to change the look of the text. So in the Style menu, I'm going to go ahead and choose Wave. Under the wave setting, I'm going to go ahead and choose bend of 33. Horizontal distortion, I'm going to do a negative 23. And in vertical distortion, I'm going to go ahead and do a positive 5. And then I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. Well, that's a little more of like it's riding a wave effect. In the 3D type layer, I'm going to go ahead and do the same setting. Right click on it, go to Warp Text, go down to Wave, and you can play around with something different than the settings they have. If you want to do something like 33 or horizontal or trying to change the way it looks, go ahead and experiment a little bit. It doesn't have to be prescribed exactly as the book set up. Then do the same thing with the web text. Make it look something like that. And have fun with it. And then go ahead and hit Control S or Command S on a Mac to save your work. Next, we're going to be designing paragraphs of type. All the text so far has been point type because it's on a single line. However, some designs require full lines or full paragraphs of text. You can also add paragraph type, even though I don't say it's the best program for using text. It can be done in a paragraph point in Photoshop. Go ahead and fit to screen, Control 0 or Command 0, or you can go up to View and you can hit Fit on Screen. I'm going to go ahead and drag from the top of the Rulers panel to move it to approximately 1/4 of the right edge. Now if we're looking at a 10 1/4, we're looking at about 2 inches, just about 2 inches, just over 2 inches. And let it go. Now we're going to go ahead and find the sticky note. It actually has a paragraph of text. You don't actually have to type it up. Double click that open and you can see now it pops up a sticky note with a bunch of text in it. So we have all of it selected. If for some reason we didn't, we can go ahead and just drag it in, or we could hit Control A, or we could find that group text and select it all. Now that it's all selected, I'm going to go ahead and hit Copy, Edit, and Copy, or like shortcuts, Control C. Now I'm going to go ahead and select the model layer. And then we'll go to the Type tool, the horizontal Type tool. I'm going to position the pointer where the guides intersect at about 1/4 of the edge. So I'm going to go ahead and drag over my guide first. 1/4 inch, we're going to about 2/5 of an inch, about there for this guide. I've got my text selected and copied. I'm going to go to make sure the model layer is selected, go to my text tool, and I'm going to go ahead and start dragging right in here. I'm going to do it so it's about 4 inches by 6 inches. And then I'm going to go ahead and paste, Control V or Command V, or you can go up to Edit and paste that text inside of there. And then go ahead and accept those changes with the checkbox. Now I have my text in my file. So now I have my text created. I'm going to go ahead and edit the trend cast. Select that text. And go up to my options panel. I'm going to go to change some settings here from font size, make it a regular. Make sure it's Myriad Pro. Regular font. 70 points. And the characters, I'm going to go to 50 on my tracking to kind of spread it out a little bit. The leading, I'm change that to 55. That's the spacing between each line. And make sure it's the color white, which it is. Well, for some reason it didn't change to 70 pixels, so I'm going to change it to 70 point font. And now my text looks pretty good with those particular settings. 70 points, 55 in the leading, 50 in the tracking color of white. Now I'm going to go ahead and click just the word trend. And I'm going to change its style to bold. Now I can do a fake bold here, or I can change up to regular and make it bold here. If for some reason your text is centered or left aligned, we want to go ahead and make sure all the text is selected. Then we want to go ahead and make sure it is right aligned in the options bar, which it is in this format. Now let's format the rest of the text. So now we're going to go ahead and select the rest of the text from what's hot to script fonts. We're going to go ahead and select our type size, and we're going to do 22 points fonts. We're going to change the leading to 28 pixels. And we're going to go ahead and change the tracking to 0. And we're going to deselect drop caps. So everything's written in its normal character letters. Oh, it looks pretty good, but it's all the same. Now we're going to make the headline stand out a little bit more. We're going to go ahead and select what's hot, and we're going to go ahead and change the character size to 28 point fonts. And do the same thing for the what's not. Make that 28 point fonts. Then we're going to select the word trend. And we're going to give it a different color. We're going to go ahead and select color. It'll pop up our menu. And we're going to go ahead and choose red 0, green of 174, and blue of 239. Kind of gives us a cyan color. And hit OK. We could also enter a hex number of 00AEEF. Same exact number. Gives us that cyan color. Now we're going to go ahead and accept the changes at the top. So we've added our trend. Go ahead and Control S or Command S to save. Once I got this note here, I can go ahead and right click on it and go to Delete Note. We're going to go ahead and turn off our guides. We're going to go up to View. Oh. Once I hit Delete Note, I can go ahead and hit Yes to the changes. Then I'm going to go ahead and turn off my guides. I'm going to View, Show, clicking Guides again. It will turn off the guides. Now they're still there. If I went back, I could turn it back on. I'm going to go to View, Fit on Screen or Control 0. Mine was fitting pretty closely on screen. And then save the file. Congratulations, you've standardized all the different types and stylized it. The next thing is to go ahead and to save it into a JPEG format. So we're going to go ahead and go to File. We're going to go to Export As. And we're going to go ahead and choose JPEG from this menu to make it a nice small web-safe option for a podcast, vlog, web-based area. We have JPEG from the menu, not anything else. JPEG will be the smallest, most optimized for a website. Now we can go ahead and change the file name. After we hit export, all the settings look pretty good. If we wanted, we could change it to make it a smaller size, which if you're putting it on the web, you very well may want to. But you can keep the settings if you want. Hit export. And then you go ahead and name it Upload. Hit OK. It'll export. Now I have my JPEG set up that I could also have for a different file size. So that wraps us up for chapter number 7. Hopefully you enjoyed how to work with text. Now it is kind of complex in some ways. Like it can be frustrating when it unselects and does things that you don't want it to do. Or if you hit enter and you think you're going to save those changes and all you're doing is dropping a line down, that can be frustrating. But with some practice, you'll get the hang of it. I would recommend if you're doing a lot of design of text, you're probably going to want to use InDesign or something like that for a better layout. But Photoshop will do some text use if you so choose. As always, thanks for watching Better Picks in just a few clicks. We'll see you next time. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and give it a thumbs up.